you become a little bit more. I already put it in.
Right.
You become a little bit more wired. But,
Yeah, but that's fine.
Just put it in another
Yeah.
project, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
I'm gonna keep this one.
Or you can just like hang it on yourself. There's border here, so good and. So let me also connect you here.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, great.
Okay, let's make sure that it all works. Okay.
All right, perfect.
There you go.
Andre, thank you.
Yes, of
Look
course.
forward to talking to you.
Yes. So
All
we
right.
will chat later. Just
Yes, sounds good. Okay, I'll come grab you after I'm done. Okay, thanks, Andre. Hello. Can everybody hear me? Or can everyone hear Maya, I guess? We're just, you good? Okay. Good, audio working? Okay, great. So welcome. My name is Vijay Balan, as it says here. A quick introduction to myself. I work at Facebook, and I run growth for all of Facebook's non-ads businesses. So anything that's growing and small falls under my remit. My job is to try and take these really small businesses and grow them into the next billion-dollar business for Facebook. I started my career in consulting. I've been in technology for, let's say, 20 years or so. I started my career as a consultant, primarily focused on digital transformation and disruption, and most of my time was spent really working with brick and mortar companies, and I wanted to expand my remit a little bit. So I went to join a startup, worked there for a few years, got acquired by Microsoft. I ran their advertising division, which was brand new at the time. I did that for a few years, got tired, decided to go co-found a video advertising company with a friend that became LiveRail, which ended up being acquired by Facebook. That's how I ended up at Facebook. So the reason I give that introduction is I've spent a lot of time in both small companies and large companies. In addition to what I do today, I also sit on the board of 4 startups. I've invested in a bunch of companies. So I spend a tremendous amount of time with companies that are trying to solve the problem of how do you take a business that seems to have general good product market fit, how do you scale it, how do you grow it, right? The sense I get from this group is you guys are pretty successful at whatever it is that you do today, and you're looking to find new ways to be able to drive additional growth. Is that fair? Okay, great, awesome. So this is not a monologue. I know it's hard with the translation, but please feel free to raise your hand, ask Maya a question. She will ask me the question, and I'll respond back. My hope is that I can learn as much from you as you can learn from the content. So let's make sure that we keep this two-way. Okay? Great. Awesome. All right, let's get started. We'll do a little exercise. Tesla, is it a car company or a tech company? Tech? Tech company, definitely. Okay. Well, they make cars. They make a lot of cars. Not as many as everybody else, but they make a lot of cars. So, as a consumer, I buy a car from them. I don't buy technology from them. All right. But then they also make these. Anyone know what this is? It's a power wall. It's basically a giant battery that turns your home into a phone, effectively. You're putting a battery in your home. It runs everything in your house. Stores energy when electricity prices are low, and then basically powers your home. It's got nothing to do with cars. It's got nothing to do with technology. It's just a battery, right? So they do that too. They also make tiles, solar tiles, which is totally different from everything else, right? Anyone know what this is? So this is like the Powerwall, but bigger. It turns Jamestown in South Australia into a phone, right? It's a giant battery. This is a battery-powered substation in Australia that basically provides power for an entire city, or multiple cities actually now, right? So bigger battery. You got a car battery, you got a power battery for your house. Now you're powering a town. right? But yes, they're a technology company. All of their systems have a software interface that directly pushes in software into the system. Anyone know about the Tesla braking problem and how they solved it? No? Okay. So when Tesla S was launched, it's like the second version of Tesla S, I'd say 6 or 7 years ago. There are different ratings that are given by the NHTSA, which is the regulatory authority that regulates cars, right? And they give you scores out of 10 for things like safety, collision, braking, and for the most important things, you want to be 10 on 10, right? You're selling a safe car. Tesla got an 8 on 10 for braking, okay? So their braking distance was under the limit. Now, if this was any other company like a Ford or an Audi, what that would have meant is they would have to issue a recall, bring all the cars that they've sold back to a dealership, update the battery mechanism, and then make sure they make changes to the assembly line for cars to fit that. Here's what Tesla did. They pushed out an update. That's right. They pushed out an update. In 11 hours after the Consumer Guide report was published, Elon was able to tweet back and say, well, try driving it now. And the NTSA had to republish their ratings the following day with a 10 on 10, right? So that's the power of having technology built into your company. They also do self-driving cars, right? And it goes on all their vehicles, 3, S, the truck, right? They also make this. I'm not sure if I'm going to get one of these ever, but that's going to have a battery, and that's going to be self-driving too, right? So my point is, Tesla does a very wide number of things, right? Somewhat seemingly related. So I think of Tesla as being a platform company, and we'll come back to this in a little bit, but I want to talk about why I think they're a platform company. They've got a battery storage platform, right? They make batteries for cars, they make batteries for homes, they make batteries for cities. It doesn't matter. There's a division at Tesla that's focused on developing better batteries. They're focused on basic research on how to make batteries better. Last longer, charge faster. It doesn't matter what the application is. And whatever research that results in improvements are shared across all products. They're able to drive efficiencies across all their products. If they were a car company, so when Audi is developing their e-tron vehicle, they're building a battery for cars only. So their research and their market size is limited to just cars. But Tesla's market size for battery research and development is not limited to cars. It is expanded to homes, expanded to cities. So their ability to invest in better battery technology is 10x of what any other single industry battery manufacturer is. So it's an interesting way to think about how you want to invest in your business, right? Another way to think about it is having a software platform. All of their systems are connected to the software. Any change that they make, obviously, home batteries don't need braking updates, but they need updates on when you can buy and sell electricity, right? That's an important way to think about it. But the technology underlying this is that it's over the air. So once they install that capability in a car, in the Powerwall at home, in Jamestown in Australia, everybody's connected to the same grid. That does not happen anywhere else today, right? Autonomous driving. It's a platform. And guess what? Tesla made all of their autonomous driving patents freely available. Any one of you can go to GitHub and download all their patents. If you wanted to build a Tesla competitor, you have all the information you need to do that. All of it. None of their patents are hidden. It's freely available. The reason they do that is because they're hoping that other people can make more progress than them and make sure that their autopilot system continues to improve for everybody, right? The key thing there is it's really nice they do that. How do they make money out of that? Right? So one of the things we're going to explore is that most companies hold their patents because they value them financially. When a company gives away the patent, they're making money someplace else. That is one of the mysteries we'll try and solve about platform companies, is trying to understand how the financial model works, because it's never straightforward. Right? Make sense? Okay. So this is my framework, right? Feel free to disagree with this, and we can debate about it, and we can talk about how it can be organized. But I think of platforms having three primary areas. They're types of platforms, or they're elements of a single platform, however you want to think about it, right? You've got a customer journey platform, which basically focuses on developing customer experiences. I'll give you some examples of that, and we'll talk about what that actually means. There's business capability platforms. These are probably much more familiar to you, but we'll look at that as well. And then you've got infrastructure as a service platforms, which are quite obvious, but we'll talk about that as well, okay? And then we'll come back to this framing a little bit later on. Okay. My favorite example of customer experience as a platform is Uber. Everybody have Uber or something like a rideshare service? And does Uber exist in Russia? Oh, it does. Okay, great. Awesome. But you have other services too in Russia, right? Yeah. For ride sharing? Got it. Okay. So same concept, right? But there's a few things interesting about Uber. Let's talk about why Uber came into play. So for me, I live here in San Mateo, and before Uber, I had to use Taxi, which is this really crappy service. It is, you know, the cars smelled really bad. The driver is always late. They never take, you know, credit card, and they never give you change back. So it's like completely unreliable service. If you ever want to get to the airport, it's pretty much a 50-50 chance with those guys. So when Uber came along, that was a real pain point. Now you laugh, but it was really a 50-50 chance of me making it to the airport on time. So that addressed a real customer pain point. But here's the interesting thing about Uber. Because Uber thought of itself less as being a taxi company and thought of it as being a marketplace or a platform, they actually incur very little cost in being able to grow their platform, right? So the zero marginal cost to serve new users is low, because when I request a ride, they don't have to go buy a car, train a driver, get that person to come to me. What they need to do is make sure that they create enough people that want to ride, create enough people that are willing to drive other people, and then match them up, right? So they're effectively connecting supply and demand, and they're able to scale that out, because if 10 people want to drive and 20 people want to be driven somewhere, they have a mismatch in demand, so they need more drivers. But getting more drivers doesn't mean buying more cars. It just means signing other people up on the internet to be drivers, right? So the incremental cost is really low, right? So that's another interesting aspect of how platforms are able to scale quickly. The last one is, for most companies, and I'm sure this is true for you, but let's test it, acquiring new users probably takes a lot of your time and money. Is that a fair statement? Yeah? That is probably one of the most important activities that you do as a company, is getting new people to buy stuff from you, right? Uber spends, over time, less money doing that. And here's why. They spent some money to acquire me as a customer in San Francisco. Great. I'm a writer. I need to get to the airport. They advertise. They send me a coupon, whatever it is. They spend some money to acquire me. Now I'm a user. Awesome. I get a few rides, we're good to go. But here's what happens. I get on that plane, the plane that I now make most times now. I get on that plane, and I go to New York. I get off in New York. I open up my phone. I hit Uber. Guess what has happened? They acquired a new user in New York City, a new rider in New York City, with no cost. They didn't pay for me. But every other taxi company, the Taxi of New York City, has to advertise. They've got to put up billboards. They've got to have people standing there. They've got to man the booths. They've got to man the phones. Uber doesn't have to do any of that. They just got another user in New York City for free. I go to LA, they get another user in LA for free. I go to Singapore, I go to London, I go to any city where Uber has their platform presence, they get me as a free rider. And that works every which way around. So over time, your cost of acquiring new users keeps going down as opposed to going up, which is not true for most other traditional businesses, right? Okay. Another one is this company that you might have heard of. It's called Facebook. Great. I don't think Facebook is as popular in Russia as it is at other places, right? You've got a whole bunch of other social networks, right? So think of your popular social network, right? It basically connects you to the people that you care about. And the reason you're on that service is not because you like it more than Facebook or not, or you like it better than Instagram or not. The reason you're on that service is because everybody else that you know is on that service. The reason I'm on Facebook is because my family's on Facebook, my friends are on Facebook, so it makes sense for me to be on Facebook. I think you guys spoke about network effects with Andre a little bit, but this is a classic example of network effect. Facebook could have a really, really bad service, but if everybody was using that service, it makes sense for you to be on that service. That's the power of the network effect, right? The other aspect of network effect when you're talking about social networking is the fact that you have other content. People post other content. But here's the interesting thing about being a platform like Facebook is this is it. This app is your world. This app is where you go to consume all your content. What Facebook has been able to do is democratize supply. So let's say everybody stopped posting anything at all on Facebook. What would you see on Facebook? Nothing, right? There'd be nothing on Facebook. Facebook doesn't produce any content. They simply provide a platform for people to produce content. And then the content that they produce is completely democratized, which is to say, my dog picture, my post about a dog, is just as important as this article from AP. It cost me next to nothing to take that picture. I just took a picture of my dog. I can do it every day. Somebody spent a lot of money doing an article for AP, but what they've done is they've democratized their suppliers, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about how you want to think about suppliers within a platform environment, right? And then the last one is, this is also a perfect mechanism. This is how they make money. It's a perfect mechanism for them to connect advertising to those people. They know who you are. They know what content you consume in terms of news. And they're able to make an informed decision about being able to show you products that you might want to buy, right? They've gotten pretty good at it. They make a lot of money doing that, right? So we'll come back to Facebook, and we'll come back to how they leverage some of these network effects a little bit later. OK, quick quiz. There's one company that does all of these things. If you already know the answer, don't say it, Victor. Any ideas? Google? Google doesn't do logistics. They do a lot of other things. Amazon, they don't have a mobile operating system. They tried. They also tried making a smartphone. That didn't go well. Apple? Apple does most of these things. I'm not sure they do a lot of e-tailing or search engines. They don't do logistics either. No? It's Alibaba, right? Alibaba does all of these things. That's cool. But the real question is, why? Why does one company do all of these different things? And these are very different things. Think about doing payments is completely different than running ships and trucks. It's completely different than creating a portal. It's completely different than building a phone. you need different people, different org structures. There's different profit margins for each of these businesses, which is completely different. The investment cycles are completely different. If you want to make money on logistics, you've got to wait for 7 to 10 years to turn a cent, right? You can make 30% doing advertising on day one. So fundamentally different, right? Here's why. The reason Alibaba does all of those things is they are a very extreme example of a company that cares about customer experience, right? The reason they do all of these things is because when they looked at their customer life cycle, they found that people were spending a lot of time looking for their products. They run a B2B marketplace, that's what they do, right? They spend a lot of time looking for products on their site. They want to search to be able to get reviews and information about the products they want to buy. Then they want to talk to the suppliers that they want to buy from. Then they want to pay for that purchase. Then they want to give the product to the customer, right? And Alibaba said, you know what? Let's just own that entire stack. Let's own the entire customer experience, so from end to end, I can hermetically seal that. Now, I don't recommend that every company do this. They're interesting because they operate in China. It's a very different landscape. They can do this and be successful. I don't think very many companies anywhere else would be able to do that. But it's less about whether one should do this or not. It is about why they did something like this. Right? They could have done a bunch of other things. They could have done, I don't know, oil mining. They could have built airplanes, right? It's still China. You could do those things. But they chose to do these things for these reasons. All right. Business solutions as a service. Does everybody use some kind of SaaS product? CRM? Email? Yeah? Great. So you guys are already using a business solution as a service, right? I used to be a Siebel sales guy back in the day, and for those of you that are old enough to remember, I used to buy software in these little boxes with CDs in them that would be shrink wrapped. Do you guys remember that time? Right? That used to be software sales. I would go give a box of CDs, they would give me a check, and I would go home. Right? That used to be the sales process, right? Now you pay $50 a month per user, right? So CDs are gone. Now, it makes sense, a lot easier, but let's look at why that change happened. And let's look at why it was important for that change to happen, right? And when you signed up for Siebel, when I sold you that pack, right, there's no going back. Once you've bought that, you've paid millions of dollars for those licenses. You've hired a consulting company to be able to come in and do that work. You've installed it, and guess what? If you don't like it, too bad. You're just gonna have to use it. You hate it, well, it sucks, because you've already paid the money. Right? But if you don't like Salesforce, guess what? It's $50 a month a user. Stop paying. Right? So it changes the commitment that you've made to something. Yes, it might still be hard for you to change Salesforce because once you've implemented it in the company, it's going to take a while, but it's not impossible. Right? The buying process has fundamentally changed. The way you think about commitment has fundamentally changed. Right? What it also does is it moves from capital expenditure to OpEx. So you're able to, in a much more concrete way, see if this money that you're spending on CRM software is actually driving value for your company. You can look at ROI on a month-by-month basis, right? Which is very different than putting up $1 million and hoping that it works, right? It also allows you to fail fast, obviously, because you can look at products that you like, you can try them out and move on if you don't like it. Okay, everyone knows these guys? Everyone knows what they do, right? This is classic infrastructure as a service, right? Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, they offer computing services, they offer storage, super easy, super cheap, right? I want to talk about a slightly different kind of infrastructure as a service company. Tell me who this is. There's a company out there that has 218 million shoppers, a million merchants, and about 14.8 billion in gross merchandise value. Massive numbers. Massive numbers. This is about 3/4 of Amazon, right? Massive numbers. Who are these guys? Nope. It's an infrastructure as a service company. Microsoft? Nope. It's a company based in Canada called Shopify. Ever heard of these guys? No? So Shopify is super interesting. If you go to shopify.com, you can't buy anything. There's nothing available for sale. What Shopify does is it provides a platform for companies that want to set up an e-commerce store, right? They take care of the design of the store. They take care of development, maintenance. They give support when people want to return your products or get a different color, or it's broken, or they were shipped the wrong thing. They make sure that you connect using their application platform protocol product to all the major stores. So you create one store with Shopify, and you automatically have a storefront on Amazon. You automatically have a storefront on eBay. You automatically have a storefront on any other website that you want to publish your products on. And they handle all of that confiscation for you, right? The interesting thing about them is they're not just infrastructure in terms of providing you server space. They're effectively providing you the entire service as a service. So it's an e-commerce store as a service. So they've effectively moved up from being truly an infrastructure player to actually starting to provide solutions. And this is one of the key trends that you'll see in infrastructure as a service happening. People are providing more and more capability. You're starting to see Amazon do AI as a service, right? You can do, for example, image recognition as a service, right? So you basically implement the right AWS module. You connect it to a camera. It'll tell you this is a laptop, that's a water bottle, that's a chair. It's already built in, right? Okay. So one of the things that you see here is there's a lot of blurring between these lines. Customer experience blurs into business solutions, infrastructure blurs into business solutions. So that's the reason I don't really think of them as three distinct types of platforms. I think about them as necessarily three elements that make up a single platform. This is a good way to define a platform. Right? And that's the platform that Bill Gates made. It's a little messy, but it's probably one of the most financially successful platforms in the last 100 years, right? Okay. So we're not going to use these guys as an example. What we're going to do is we're going to look at how to think about designing platforms. So one of the goals that I get for the team here is to try and find a way to think about platforms as a concept and see how that could potentially apply to your daily lives. What we're going to try and do is I'm going to give you a framework. We'll walk through a few examples of people using the framework so you get to think about how other people have designed platforms. And then we'll do an exercise where you guys get to design your own platform and get to make decisions on how you want to think about those trade-offs, how you want to think about priorities, how you want to construct business models, how you want to extract value. Okay? Make sense? Okay. Cool. So let's get into platform design. Anyone heard of the Fresno Drop? No? It's a dance move. No, it's not a dance move. I'm just messing with you guys. So the Fresno Drop is something that happened in 1958 in Fresno, California, which is a couple hours east of the Bay Area. And there was a company, Bank of America, that had an idea to say, what if we could create a credit card that can be used anywhere? Until that time, credit cards were limited to stores. So if you went to Sears, you would be able to get a Sears card. If you went to JCPenney, you would be able to get a JCPenney card, right? You had store cards specifically for retail. But you didn't have a card that could just be used anywhere, okay? So they came up with a concept and said, let's do that. The Fresno Drop basically means one day they ran a small experiment. They created a subsidiary called Bank AmeriCard, which is part of the Bank of America, right? And they dropped 60,000 cards on residents in Fresno. They just gave everybody credit cards. Each card was loaded with $500, and you could you could basically use that card to buy stuff from merchants. A few days before and after that, they went and they recruited a bunch of small businesses, right? And they said, hey, people are going to show up with this $500 in their card. You should really take it, right? And the experiment was to see, would people be interested in this, right? So let's look at, I don't think anyone doing the Fresno Drop thought of this as platform design, but they got a lot of things right. So let's understand why they did what they did and what happened out of that, because I think it's very instructive for how you think about platform design. Okay? Do you have a question? Okay. So let's look at the customer journey, right? The people getting the cards, right? Great experience because it's one card for any store. That's awesome. Instant credit. You got $500 in your wallet. Someone just came and gave you $500, right? The convenience, and there's a little cachet. It's a status symbol. You kind of walk around in Fresno, you've got the red Bank AmeriCard, it's so cool. People wanted that, right? There's something cool about that. There's something cool about credit cards even now. You get the, the Chase Reserve Preferred or whatever it is for like $1,000. It looks like a little piece of metal. It's cool, right? There's always status symbol associated with things. They captured those. That was part of the customer experience. When they went to the small merchants, they almost wept with joy. This was amazing. They were spending hours and hours and multiple people trying to do bookkeeping, right? So when Vijay came in and he bought something and you gave him credit and you said, I'll pay you back tomorrow, you've got to write that down in a book, right? Then you have to send him an invoice. And then you remind him after 30 days. You remind him again after 60 days. And he may pay you in 90 days, right? And when you send all that out, you've got to put it in an envelope. You put the postage on it. You mail it out. And the amounts that they were looking at were between $2 and $15. Those were the amounts that they were sending this out for. And customers are writing checks for $2 and sending it back to these small businesses. The benefit, the business solution benefit, was massive. They said, no more bookkeeping for you. You just log on to your bank, and you're able to look at the ledger of all the things we owe you. We'll pay you in 10 days. For a small business, that's massive. Receivables going from 90 days to 10 days is a huge benefit. No collection risk. So Vijay runs off without paying you $2 for that sandwich. Don't worry. Bank of America is still going to pay you, right? And no postage and labor. Great customer experience. Great business value, right? And all they needed to do was issue the cards and sign up merchants. This company later on went to become Visa, which is actually headquartered right here now. They process 310 billion transactions a day, right? They're the second largest, they're the largest outside of the US, and they're the second largest globally, right? Sure.
How many transactions, which share of transaction through check in the United States? I mean, Vijay, you said about Visa.
Yep.
It's okay. And how many, which share of all transactions have checkbook?
Oh, probably very few. I think most people use credit cards.
Approximately.
So this is the size of Visa today, right? You want to know how many transactions?
Which share of
Back then,
pay
in the
through
past.
check?
Oh, in the past. Good question. I have no idea.
No. 2090 in the United States.
Check transactions?
Yes.
Well, you've got my dad.
In January, we had education through this system.
Uh-huh.
It's strange. More than 50% in the United States pay through checkbook. 50% of all sales.
It's still by checkbook?
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's more than we think.
it probably is. Yeah. You do? Well, I still have to pay my, like my daughter's tennis coach.
In China, we have approximately 87% through PayPal.
Right.
Yes?
Yeah.
In China, 87%. In the United States,
It's
50% through checkbook.
checkbook. We're very old school. Yeah, we're very old school. So Visa today looks a lot like this, different from the Fresno Drop. But a couple of things I want to talk through. One of them is this. So when the Fresno Drop happened, when they gave away 60,000 cards, there was one bank taking on all the risk, Bank of America, right? They were handing out credit to everybody. They de-risked that when they scaled. It was impossible to get to this scale if Bank of America held all of the credit for all of the banks, right? 3.3 billion cards, $11 trillion in total volume. No single bank could take on that kind of risk. So they partnered with 15,000 or 16,000 other issuing banks to take on that risk. They purely became a platform. So think about that. They now provide a great customer experience, but they don't issue the cards themselves. Someone else does with their logo on it. They don't work with merchants directly. The issuing bank does that, or multiple other people do that, right? And they don't take the risk of issuing the actual money. They just process the transaction, right? So that's a good example of how Bank of America went from being an interesting idea about handing out credit to Visa as truly a platform to transact. Now, the interesting thing is, how does everyone extract value, right? So this is my framework, and this is going to be how you guys are going to work on developing a test. OK, you can see the edges. So in this case, I think of there being three parts. You've got the customer, you've got the supplier, which is a small business in this case, and you've got the platform, which is Visa, right? So the things you want to care about, and this gives you a good set of conversations, mental exercise to think about what are the important things about building a platform. Do you have a strong value proposition across all of these guys? Is there a sustainable business model for everybody? The key thing about a platform, as Bill Gates says, is that the people that use it have to extract more value than the people that run it, right? Is there enough customer value? Is there enough supplier value? And are you able to extract enough value for you to run the platform? That's critical, right? We'll talk about sequencing, which I think is interesting, and then we'll talk about winner takes all, which is a construct you should use when you think about platform economics. Okay? So, customer, like we said before, one card for any store, instant credit, convenience, status symbol. Great. Supplier, amazing, right? Good value. Platform, you issue the card, you sign up the merchant, and you de-risk your business by scaling to other banks. So good value proposition all around. Yeah? Everyone agrees? Makes sense? Okay, great. Let's look at business model. So for the customer, yeah, all of these things are true, but at the end of the day, it's access to credit. Before credit cards, if you wanted to get credit, and even now, if you want to get credit outside of a credit card and you want a loan, you got to go to the bank. You've got to file some documents. You got to tell them who your mom is, your dad is. They'll do a full probe of your entire life before they give you a loan. That's how it works. But a credit card, they'll give you $10,000 without blanking an eyelid. It's quick access to credit, and customers want that, right? For supplier, these are long-term benefits. Lower cost, higher customer reach, and lower risk, right? So you get more people that come to your store, they buy more stuff because they have credit, and they don't pay you, somebody else takes the responsibility of paying you. That's awesome, right? And then on the platform side, you have fees. Interest fees from cardholders, fees from the merchants, and you take a transaction processing fee. So everybody's able to extract enough value from the platform. Now, from a sequencing perspective, and this is important because this is not always 1, 2, 3, but in this case it is. You needed to have 60,000 cards for merchants to get excited about wanting to take people with those cards. I needed to have enough merchants for the platform to actually want to process it. So they started here by dropping 60,000 cards. Then they signed up as many merchants as they could find. And then once they got this two-sided marketplace going, they just focused on enabling it. Okay? Now, does everyone understand winner takes all, what it means? Right? You've got some markets and some business models where if you do all the right things, or you create a set of effects that allows you to take the market. A good example is Facebook, right? Facebook, because of its network effects, is a winner-takes-all model, for the most part, right? If everybody you know is on Facebook, more people are going to come to Facebook. Your system works only when you have everybody on the same platform. So trying to create another Facebook today would be difficult. You could probably create another Instagram. You could probably create a messaging service. You could do a lot of innovation. But trying to recreate Facebook and saying, here's another version of the same thing, would be really hard to do. Right? So MasterCard did that. They said, we're going to create another version of Visa. They could do that. It worked. But they couldn't do that. You couldn't do that today with Facebook. Right? So that's an example of winner takes all. Let's look at why or how you think about winner-takes-all models for platforms. So for the customer, it's really a no, because if you can get Visa and MasterCard, you get more credit. If the core value proposition was quick access to credit, you will take as many cards. I'll take the Visa, the MasterCard, the American Express, right? There's no reason for me to say I will only hold on to Visa. So there's no benefit to that. Standalone store credits, still around, you still want that. So there is no benefit to a customer from being on a single platform. On the supplier side, lower cost and lower risk remain. Whether I sign up with Visa or I sign up with MasterCard, I still have those benefits. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they still reduce my cost. They give me more reach. They lower my risk. It's all true for all three. I don't care. In fact, accepting more issuers increases my customer reach, right? If someone walks in with a Visa and I accept it, and someone walks in MasterCard and I don't, I'm losing out on that sale. So it's actually to my benefit as a supplier to take as many cards as possible. So no, there is no value for the supplier in having a single system. On the platform side, maybe, I wonder, could Visa have done more to maybe draw regulation around it to say, people that transact with merchants can only use Visa protocols? Maybe, right? There's probably more that they could have done, but I don't think this is necessarily foolproof because there's no network effect. It doesn't matter if I use Visa and my wife uses MasterCard. we still able to do the same thing. It doesn't matter that we're both on the same thing or not. For a financial transaction, if I'm a merchant, you're on Visa, and I'm on the MasterCard system, we could not complete the transaction if we're on different systems. So it makes sense for both of us to be on the same systems at some point, or use both systems, right? So this is the framework, and when we do the exercise, these are the kind of things that you're going to have to think about. So any questions on this? Anything you disagree with? Anything you don't understand? Sounds good? OK, we'll do one more example, quite different from this, so you'll get a sense of what it is when it's not financial services. So let's look at Amazon really quickly. So Amazon, classic business back in '94. Book suppliers went to the Amazon website. I bought it. Dead simple, right? Then Amazon decided they wanted to become the everything store, right? They wanted to have all kinds of products, right? And so they needed a lot more suppliers. But it was really hard for them to get suppliers. And so how many people remember Amazon Marketplace? Do you remember Amazon Marketplace? Was it ever there in Russia? Is Amazon there in Russia? No. OK, that's why. So we in the US suffered through Amazon Marketplace. Amazon Marketplace was, if I went to buy a laptop, right, I could buy the laptop from Amazon, or I could buy other laptops from Joe Schmo's electronics store, right? And if I bought it from Amazon, it would be a different price. It would be free shipping, and it would be guaranteed by Amazon. But if I bought it from the marketplace, all bets are off. I may get it, I may not get it. If I have a problem with the machine, I got to go talk to Joe Schmo. Their phone number may not work. Like, it was a terrible experience. As a consumer, I had to be responsible for making sure that I'm picking the right person to buy from, right? So Amazon understood that that was not a great customer experience, and they changed that. And they created FBA, or Fulfillment by Amazon. So what they said is, look, we want to unify the customer experience across all of our suppliers and merchants. These are people we work with directly and stock their products. These are people that have their own suppliers, right? We want to work with them too. Fulfillment by Amazon basically means you effectively get treated as an Amazon supplier. So you send your stuff to a warehouse that Amazon owns and operates on your behalf. So when I, as a customer, go to that app, I don't see any difference. I want to buy that bottle of water. I don't care if it came from an Amazon supplier, it came from a merchant, if it came from Kentucky, if it came from Kansas, came from New York City, or it came from California. I get 2-day free shipping. It shows up at my door. That's what I want. And Amazon handles all that complexity, right? So strong customer experience, that became the platform. They provided an amazing business solutions for small merchants. Because the reason that they weren't able to satisfy me as a customer is not because they're bad, it's because they're small. They have to make a margin. They don't have the ability to actually pack and ship in 2 days. Amazon gave them that. And they did that with a unified infrastructure across everything. OK? So let's look at what this business model looks like within the framework that we looked at. OK? Customer supplier platform. What is the value proposition? Everything store. Go to Amazon, you can buy pretty much everything in the US. And I'm sure there's stores like that in Russia that give you access to pretty much anything you want to buy. What's the name of the Amazon of Russia? 3 or 4? Big ones. OK, great. Maybe you guys can build this and be Amazon. I'm not kidding. Everything store, free shipping, Prime Club, right? This is the value proposition for a customer. For the supplier, right? If you're a traditional supplier, and you're working with Safeway, which is our department store, what you're fighting over is shelf space. In traditional retail, it's all about shelf space. Where is my shelf space? Is it visible to customers? When I walk in the store, the first thing I see is Kellogg's cereal. They paid a lot of money for that shelf space. Amazon has unlimited shelf space. You just go online, right? They democratize shelf space. Easy customer acquisition and low price sensitivity, right? Once you're online, once you've signed up for the club at Amazon, guess what? You just buy. You're not price shopping very much, right? On the platform side, Amazon owns a direct relationship with the customer. They own logistics and fulfillment, and they have an app that never goes down. Very high availability. Okay? All right. I just realized I couldn't hear anything, so I just need to speak. So I'm going to take this off. An hour in. A sustainable business model. Amazon customers believe that they have strong value for money, right? Supplier gets massive reach. There's like thousands of people that shop on Amazon every minute. They get access to that right away. The platform makes money with listing fees, margin from the gross product value that they sell, and they've got value chain control. On the sequencing side, yes, they definitely started here. But my theory is that this came second. They spent a lot of time and effort. Yes, they had suppliers, but they didn't really care about suppliers. They only cared about suppliers in terms of what they wanted to do for their customer. They just needed to get the product there. They don't truly invest in a supply chain or supply value chain, right? That's where they spent on too. Once they got these two nailed down, then they focused on creating the marketplace and truly becoming the everything store. So let's see if this platform model has winner-take-all ideas, right? So yeah, I think so, right? Everything store has everything. All the things you want to buy is on that store. You can literally buy everything on Amazon, right? Did you know this? 47% of product searches now start on Amazon as opposed to Google. So if I'm looking to buy a bag, I used to go to Google, and I would type in blue Ted Baker bag, and I would see 4 different ways to buy them. You can still do that today. The first 3 ways are Amazon, right? So you stop doing that. You just go to Amazon, and you type in blue Ted Baker bag, and then you buy it, right? So over time, users don't go to Google because they don't want to know if it's available anywhere else. They like the experience. It's the everything store. They get free shipping. They get it in 2 days, and it has everything. So I'm going to start there. For the suppliers, I do a maybe because it's hard. Because what's happening here is whether they like it or not, suppliers are getting commoditized. Right? If I'm looking to buy a Ted Baker bag, do I really care if Ted Baker, the company, sells it to me or a third-party dealer sells it to me? No. I just care about the lowest price. So if you as a supplier can give me a low price, I'm going to buy that bag. Right? And then for the platform, higher scale means lower cost and better service. So the more bags you buy, the more discount they can drive from their suppliers, the better service you get, the more people buy, the better stock you have, which means the faster you get it. So actually, the bigger that Amazon becomes, the better it is for customers and the platform. Right? A good example of how to think about higher scale means better is, think back to Yahoo when they were running a search engine. The way Yahoo used to crawl web pages was they would index the page 1 page at a time, right? So as the internet grew or blew up exponentially, it became really hard for Google, for Yahoo to crawl every page. It was really expensive. Google, on the other hand, didn't crawl the pages. It just looked at the links that page had to other pages and ranked it. That's how they generated search results. So guess what happened when the internet blew up? Google got better as the internet blew up because they got more pages with more links. They could rank better. So the same thing that took Yahoo down made Google better. So if the internet hadn't exploded, if we didn't have, 3.1 trillion pages that we have today, Yahoo would probably be around and would be pretty good. But that's not what happened, right? Because your system wasn't built to take advantage of the scale, right? Okay. So let's get to work. And I'll kind of give you some guiding stuff along the way. I think we should have enough for everybody. Would you mind passing it on there? Would you mind passing this on? It's one page each. Great. So you guys can pick your own company. You guys can pick an imaginary company. You can work as a group. You can work in pairs. You can make groups. I leave it to you guys. Okay? What we're looking to do is identify a business of your choosing and fill this out, right? So you have to think about customer experience. You've got to think about the business solution that you provide to your business, your supplier, your developer ecosystem, whatever it is that your idea has. And then you as a platform, how do you provide value and how do you extract value? Okay? So any questions? So let me give you a couple of things to get started off on. So for strong value proposition, think about what's happening today, and your idea should be at least 2 times to 10 times better. Uber was 10 times better than my local taxi service. That's the reason I use it. So from a customer experience standpoint, it has to be fundamentally better. 2x is great. It's a good place to start. But how can you make that experience fundamentally better? For your businesses or your suppliers, you want to have short-term benefit, so they should see the value today. Great, I get paid net 10. That's going to happen 10 days from now if I sign up for this Bank AmeriCard. That's immediate benefit. That's awesome, right? Long-term benefit is I don't have to do bookkeeping. I don't have to buy envelopes, and I don't have to send invoices out. There's a long-term benefit. So there's multiple ways, something for you to get started today, and something for you to think about long term. On the platform side, you want to try and create a moat. A moat is effectively a barrier to entry for other people to come in, right? The barrier to entry for companies like Facebook is their network effect. The barrier to entry for people like Visa is scale. It's like, 1.3 billion people already use their cards. They love them. It's a great brand. That's their moat. You've got to try and find a way to create that moat. And then on the business model, everybody has to get something. You've got to find value for your user. You've got to find value for your business partner. You've got to find a way to take value. The economic value of everybody that uses it has to exceed the value of the company that created it. Right? A good example is the Apple App Store. Apple makes about $30 billion from the App Store. The combined value that's generated from the 2.8 billion apps, 2.8 million apps that they have on the App Store is about 5 times that. So app developers make way more money than Apple does. But they need the Apple App Store to do that. That is the value that the App Store provides. The developers get value from being able to create that apps and people paying for it. And for me, if I didn't have apps, my phone would be a glass brick. Right? That's my value. Great. Let's take 10 minutes, get started. If you have any questions, just raise your hand. Does that make it better for you?
Yeah, because this way I can hear you breathe. Oh. Where you have it right now, I can hear you breathe, and when you have it on the
Got it, okay. That makes sense.
like the interpreters always do this. You put it on both sides.
Right. So if I do it,
No, go ahead.
I know, I understand. I'm trying not to put it on my ear, that's all. Because it's,
You put it just on one ear, this
Yeah, but-
second ear, put it like this.
yeah, because it's hard for me to,
Is that
yeah, that's fine.
inconvenient for you?
It's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I can deal with your breathing, don't worry about it. But just if it was easier.
This, because,
Yes, exactly, that's all.
got it, okay.
But
But then this doesn't do that? Oh, because it's
no, it
lower
doesn't,
down.
Because it's, I don't know why, but it doesn't.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can, yeah, it's very sensitive.
So now it's far away.
fine.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
But if
Yeah,
that's how we do it.
this is how you do it? Okay.
Yeah, we never put it on both because otherwise you can't hear
You can hear, right,
bad.
that's weird, exactly.
Yeah,
Right,
that's why you always put the other one on.
okay. So I see some of you have gone down to sequencing, so I want to share one quick thing with you guys. Just give me 1 minute, because I know some people are going down to sequencing. When you guys are thinking about suppliers, here's an important construct to think about your suppliers when you're trying to figure out especially the business model or the value proposition, right? You've got very commoditized suppliers on one side, and you've got differentiated suppliers on one side. So, like I spoke about here, Facebook is completely commoditized. News article from New York Times, super well written, amazing, has to compete for my attention with a picture of my dog, right? Completely commoditized. So if tomorrow New York Times decides to take away, as a supplier, its content from Facebook, nothing happens. Nothing happens, right? That's how commoditized suppliers are. Google, on the other hand, similar, it's slightly less commoditized. Let's say I type in news about cats, and I know that the first article is always the animals section on New York Times, and I usually click on it and read it. If New York Times stops, publishing their content on Google, I probably notice that. Now, I can do one of two things: go to New York Times and read it, or I can just click on whatever comes next. Somewhat commoditized, but I will notice it that it's commoditized. Facebook, I wouldn't even notice. Amazon is right below this halfway point. So Amazon, yes, if I love buying Bonobos khaki pants, my favorite khaki pants, and I buy them from Amazon all the time, and one day I go and I don't see it, I'm going to notice that, right? And if I can't buy my favorite khaki pants on Amazon, I'm going to be like, well, that's not great. They're not the everything store anymore, right? So I might end up trying out something else and I might forget about it, but it still creates enough of an impediment. So they're not totally commoditized. They're more differentiated than these guys. Netflix, on the other hand, they definitely need their suppliers. Yes, I sign up, I pay for Netflix. I pay $10 a month for Netflix or any other streaming service that you use. But if the content is really bad and there's nothing within the service that I want to watch, I may not renew. I signed up for Netflix today because I really like watching Jack Ryan, right? If they took that off, or Friends, they're taking that off, right? If they start taking away content that I really like with the Netflix, that's a problem. Netflix, in and of itself, is valuable only as much as its suppliers are. So they have a much higher differentiation. Apple, without the apps, it's a glass brick, right? Very differentiated. If Google Maps went away from my Apple phone, or my email app went away from my Apple phone, I will strongly consider switching to another phone because I need those things. That makes up my fundamental experience. It's a real problem, so very differentiated. Microsoft, right? Probably the most differentiated. They don't actually sell I know they sell the Surface machine now, but It's all about their suppliers. They've got to find a way to get their products, which is Office and their operating system, on as many devices as possible. If all the device makers stopped carrying their operating system, they'd be toast, right? So they really need their suppliers. The reason I bring this up is when you guys are thinking about value prop and business model, how Microsoft treats its suppliers is very different than how Facebook treats its suppliers. The amount of money they pay, the transactional element, the trade-offs that they have, depend on where you lie within the spectrum. So something to think about when you're writing that. Okay? And then while I have your attention, we'll do the last one, which is winner takes all. Right? So winner takes all is, the concept is the bigger you are, the better you are. Let's test that a little bit. Google PageRank, we spoke about this. Google PageRank gets better with size, not worse. Yahoo search got worse with size. So you want to try and find a way, if your market presents a winner-take-all opportunity, you want to find a way where you get better with size. Network effects, right? You want to make sure that if there's value in your system having network effects where people are transacting with each other, you should invest in that. Preference by habit. Everything store has everything. I always go to Amazon. I always search for things on Amazon, right? So 3 ways to think about winner-takes-all market scenarios. Great. You can get back to work. Yes, sir.
What should be the question for those 3 blocks? What should be the business model and
Yeah, so business model for customer is really not payment. You want to think about value.
what
Right?
for what should pay the customer?
No, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a payment. It can be value. So like I said, if you're, let's say you're doing Apple, the value is the fact that if I didn't have apps, this is blank. It's no value to me, right? So what is the value? So in the,
Yeah, but the value we...
you already put it there?
Yeah, we put
Then
it
leave
there,
this
but-
blank. You have to find a way. I mean, you could also, this could also be value, but this is ideally something that you're transactionally paying someone because this is a business. So you've got to find, are you reducing costs for them? That could be payment. Are you paying them money? Are you increasing their business value, right? So what do they get out of this? I guess a better way to ask that question is, what do they get out of this? By getting onto your platform, what is in it for me, customer? What is in it for me, supplier? That's really what you're looking to answer.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not really. What's your example? Global job portal?
Global job portal, yeah. It's a platform for all people who can get their job on
Okay.
our platform, and our platform connects all the companies in the world with people.
Okay.
So the people can get the more easy job process during using our platform, and the companies can get access to the global job market. They can lower the costs for hiring personnel, and they can pay for some local services like internal HR portals, for example, and people can get access to some premium clubs, like clubs of interest,
Okay.
and they can share their experience working in any of companies. So that is our example.
Okay. So then if you think about business model, LinkedIn does this today, right?
Yeah.
As an example. What would be different about your customer experience versus LinkedIn? I think if you start thinking about, if you answer that question, then you can answer all of the companies that post on LinkedIn today. They also get this. If you can do this better, you'll get more people doing this. And then if these people are doing something better, then these people are doing something better, and then you have a platform.
Okay.
So what you have right now is a good business idea.
Yep.
How do you platformify it? That's what you need to think about. Sure. You have a question? Yes.
We want a question. We say about our company. Our company and the first for customer. We say it is как economic profit, profit time
Okay.
and profit money.
Okay.
It is for customer. For business, it is grow up, guarantee grow up sale.
Okay. You want to improve sales? Okay.
Yes. And here we don't understand. It is for here, and it is together.
Yeah, you're effectively connecting these two things, right?
Connecting.
Right. You are making sure that this and this happens, and so this and this can happen without you, maybe.
Okay.
If you can do something that makes it more effective, that would be better.
Okay. And here maybe grow up money for our business.
Right. And when you say our business, are you talking about VSC Instrumenti? Is that
Yes.
your case? Yeah. Okay. Yes. So, what would you have to do differently today to be able to get more people? So, this part, what is new about the customer experience? Are you doing something new that makes it better than what it is today?
Как раз речь про саму идею.
Получается, у customer it is more products.
Okay.
Products. It is
Okay.
very more products
Okay.
for customer.
Great.
And it is only one place
Okay.
for me.
Correct. So that saves time and money. That's great. And then, do you get more suppliers? So if you have more products, how do you get more? How do you get them more products? Don't you need more suppliers to get them those products? Or not really? I don't know your business. So.
How can we
То есть привлечение покупателей как-то путем поставщиков. То есть автономность. Вопрос по автономности. Ну, то есть при росте покупателей твоя система, она должна автономно.
Let me get Maya. Maybe this might be a translation problem. She has a question I'm not sure I fully understand. Yes.
will you be able to finish by one?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 10 minutes. I'll wrap this up. Yep.
Okay, so we're discussing our business.
Вот сейчас вопрос как раз вот поставщиков. То есть мы
So,
сказали, что
supplier side, right?
мы сказали, что у нас получается для покупателей. Ну это я все объяснила, по-моему, все поняли, да, что есть экономия для покупателя это экономия времени и экономия денег.
So for the customer, this means saving money and
Yeah.
time, right?
Yep. So my question to her was, she's
yeah,
saying that they're going to get more products for the customer, which makes it better for
Вы
them.
говорите, что вы будете больше
Don't they
продуктов
they
предоставлять пользователю, да? Это хорошо, да?
right? Don't they need more suppliers to get them those more products?
А для того, чтобы увеличить количество продуктов, вам разве не нужно повысить количество поставщиков? Yes.
Okay. So how does a platform help
И как
make it
платформа-
easier for the suppliers, more suppliers to onboard onto your platform, easier than what happens today?
Платформа вам поможет, а главное, поставщикам поможет работать с вами. Каким образом платформа облегчает эту задачу?
Не-не-не, подожди, у нас идея есть локальный хаб. То есть локальный хаб, он сокращает для
So you create like a local
клиентов сроки,
hub,
за счет чего
which
они экономят время.
shortens customer time, which means bringing more customers in.
Так как мы наращиваем базу клиентов,
And so we expand the number of customers,
нужно вот эту связь
and so we have to
сделать, чтобы
sell that to the
понимали, что вот он
supplier essentially,
Okay.
so that the suppliers know that our hub
все окей, вот, и они хотели
that accommodates that. So like the platform kind of expands the space for them in a
Yeah.
Ну
So
да.
here's an example.
Вот пример приведу.
So I spoke about Google.
Вообще, вот помните,
Right.
я приводил в качестве
Google's suppliers are people that whose results show up on Google.
это люди, чьи результаты высвечиваются, выдаются Google, да?
So in the past,
То есть в прошлом
the suppliers didn't have to do anything. Google had to do all the work to search the content within their articles.
поставщикам не нужно было ничего делать. Это Google нужно было проводить поиск по контенту, да? Контенту.
But now what Google asks their suppliers to
А
do,
теперь Google что просит?
it gives them a template that they have to put their article in that makes it easier for Google to search them.
Предоставляет некоторую форму, да, бланк, который должен заполнить поставщик для того, чтобы их контент было лучше искать.
So how can they create a template like that from a business perspective? How can they create a template that
Как вам
suppliers can
такой
plug in?
формуляр, такой бланк как создать? Да. That's what we were talking about. That we have like a personal account. Each supplier has like a personal account on our site, right?
Yes.
И каждый новый поставщик, он при добавлении, он сам заполняет свой контент, который выводится к нам на сайт.
And so when onboarding, every new supplier provides information like
In that
supplies
unified way.
content, right?
Great.
Ну, замечательно.
Great. That's a great example.
Прекрасный пример.
Да, вот у нас Слава
А тогда вопрос получается,
Okay, then here's our question.
Это примерно то же самое, что про прошлую идею. Когда поставщики узнают, что, там, например, количество посетителей на нашем сайте увеличивается. Это то же самое примерно, о чем была предыдущая идея.
Essentially, then how do suppliers find out that we have more customers on our site? Like that was part of the previous question.
Oh.
Like how do they find out that they should flock to us because we have more users, right? Means that the platform it's not standalone, right? So
Correct. So this is the classic chicken and egg of a two-sided platform.
ну как бы вот для платформы это такая классическая, что появилось первым делом, яйцо или курица, да?
Right. Who comes first?
Как бы кто появляется
Do
на
you
платформе
first
первым
get more
делом, да?
customers
То есть
and then wait for
сначала
suppliers?
привлекаешь,
Do you get more
увеличиваешь
suppliers
количество
and wait for
пользователей,
customers?
и потом привлекаешь поставщиков, или наоборот, сначала больше поставщиков, потом больше пользователей.
Right.
Да?
So what you need to do
Вам
is
нужно что сделать?
there's a few strategies for this.
Несколько стратегий есть.
Right. One strategy is you subsidize
Или
one side.
субсидируешь одну сторону, из сторон этих, да?
So you either give all of your customers 15% off
Скажем, всем пользователям даешь
on new
15%
products,
скидку
so
на
they're going to come in for the
приобретение
discount.
новых продуктов, да, чтобы они там
Right.
за скидкой приходили на сайт на ваш.
Or you give your suppliers
Наоборот,
free access to your platform
предоставляешь
for a
бесплатный
year.
доступ на платформу на год,
So
скажем,
you
в
get your
течение
hub,
года.
you get the
Да,
template,
или
the
вот
profile
у
for
вас
free for a year.
ну, этот и бланк вы бесплатно его предоставляете, и там пространство на платформе и так далее, все бесплатно на год.
Right?
Вот. Interesting proposition.
Yes.
Interesting suggestion.
Okay.
Another one.
Yes. Yes.
Previous speakers speak about the good example collaboration Netflix and Disney company. If the Netflix find a good agreement between Disney, why we choose way then we create promotion new video because Disney оказался
Turned out. Вот, скажите еще предложение.
почему Disney отказался от сотрудничества с ними?
Why did Disney stop working with them? Right? Why did
Yeah.
Disney leave the platform, right?
Platform.
Yeah.
Platform and if we find agreement with business.
Yeah, so what Netflix does is it disintermediates Disney from me. Right? So I have a relationship with Netflix. I don't have a relationship with Disney. So Netflix has all my viewing information. That data never gets to Disney. Disney wants that. So Disney cares actually less about making money in the short term. They care more about having a direct relationship to me in the long term. So here's an example. I was talking about Jack Ryan before, right? The way Netflix produces shows is they have a good understanding of how many people subscribe to their service, what kind of shows they watch, and they can actually say, if I make an action thriller with a male lead, there are so many people that will watch it. Those people pay me $10 a month. I'm going to take some percentage of that month and apply it to my production cost. So if I produce the show Jack Ryan, will I make money off of that show? That's a mathematical question. It's no longer a creative question. It's no longer like, oh, should we make it? Is it going to be a good story? It doesn't matter. Make it because we know people will watch it. Disney wants that. Disney wants to know which Marvel movie to make next. Should they make a Thor movie? Should they make an Iron Man movie? They don't have that information today. That's why they have the streaming service directly to me now.
Понятно.
У них, я так понял, что они используют опыт пользователя, то есть пользователь сам
Не опыта, а того, что пользователь любит, да, если они знают, что они пиф-паф ой-ой-ой, да, они как бы Disney не знает пиф-паф ой-ой-ой, сколько его посмотрит, 10 человек или 500. Disney хочет иметь эту информацию. А Netflix от того, что на их платформе все это происходит, они знают, пиф-паф ой-ой посмотрят 500 человек, там про любовь посмотрела 1000, и на основании этого они дальше и принимают решение о том, какие, что снимать.
Какая-то часть людей любит Дисней, то есть они сами себя лишают вот этой группы пользователей.
So Disney, кто они? Netflix потерял это. Disney, так Netflix или Disney в чем? Вопрос.
Какая-то часть пользователей, даже пользователей Netflix, любит фильмы Disney.
So some of the Netflix users, they love Disney movies, right?
Да, и там, исключая Disney из своей сетки, они лишают себя этих пользователей и лишают себя этого опыта.
So by letting go of Disney, Netflix now lost those users, and they lost.
I don't think Netflix let go.
Disney, pardon, Netflix не лишил себя этих пользователей Disney.
То есть они продолжают.
Disney's a supplier. They left.
Disney ушел от них.
Я понимаю, но почему он ушел?
Okay.
But they lost users by leaving. Disney lost users by leaving Netflix.
Data, more users.
Да, но теперь
Data is more valuable to them. They don't care about users.
Информация и данные не пользователей.
Мне кажется, проиграли оба.
But I think both lost.
No? I think it's a good bet. That's how you think about a platform. That's why you think about a platform. All right, guys, we've got 5 minutes. We're going to have to wrap up at 1. Can anyone quickly share one example in like a couple of minutes so we can wrap up? I just want the group to hear about what you guys worked on. Anyone want to go first? Anyone want to go first? You want to go last? Okay, that's not the question. Anyone want to go first? No? Yeah, go for it. You're going to have to translate for me, so. You can get up on stage. You can tell me.
У меня как бы платформа все инструменты, это все меня слушают, да? У меня платформа, все инструменты, агрегатор всех предложений товаров на рынке. Если мне нужен, например, перфоратор, то именно на нашей платформе я могу сразу агрегировать все цены, все отзывы, все статьи на все перфораторы, которые есть, мне показывается сразу предложение лучшее на рынке как раз.
I can, as a user, I can see all of the best, everything that's out there on the market, including reviews, everything that has to do with
Why would suppliers want to go to your platform?
С чего бы поставщикам, почему поставщикам интересно оказаться на вашей платформе?
Во-первых, это узнаваемость бренда, узнаваемость продукта. Да, это самый первый важный фактор. Второе, от нашей платформы поставщик будет получать обратную связь по их товару, как раз по совокупности факторов, чтобы улучшить качество товара, снизить цену, да, чтобы он понимал, почему клиенты приобретают другие товары, а не его.
Do other platforms not give them that?
На других платформах они эту информацию не...
Okay. Great. Okay. That's good value prop. Okay. So which comes first in terms of sequencing?
По последовательности.
So you get more users or you get more suppliers?
Пользователей увеличиваем или поставщиков количество
Конечно,
увеличиваем?
сначала мы узнаем, что нужно клиенту, что важно, да, как раз там все отзывы, там, статьи, да, и цены, там, не знаю, что чаще покупают, какая информация им нужна. Да, потом создаем платформу, и далее уже увеличиваем, собираем поставщиков.
Okay, so let's say you don't sell staplers today, to your example,
Сегодня перфораторы не продаете еще.
right? Why would a stapler supplier sign up with you when you don't sell even one stapler?
Почему, скажем, вы еще не продаете перфораторы? С чего бы поставщик решил вдруг давайте
What's the incentive?
продавать перфораторы через все инструменты? В чем мотивация? Зачем?
Во-первых, у нас есть много клиентов,
we
да,
have a
у
lot
нас
of
уже
users, right?
Okay.
известный магазин, да, и мы имеем там свою базу клиентов.
Store and we already have like a database of clients, and so for the suppliers that would create new
Okay.
clients, right?
Great, cool.
Замечательно.
I think a few other people did this one. Any thoughts?
Какие-то похожие, не похожие, а другие, может быть, идеи. Другой пример. You want another example, or you want?
No, it was there. I know a few other people did just on like VSE Instrumenti.
Probably we all
Right.
thought about that.
No, they did something different. These guys did something different.
Идеи обдумывали?
Right. So, all right, let's actually close off on this before we go to the new ones.
Пока что этот пример.
So, like the two things to think about, and I think this was our problem as well, which is, which is our problem as well, which is, which goes first? Do you get more users, or do you get more suppliers, right? Because yeah, you have got a brand and you've got a lot of people, but not all of them are buying staplers. So if you ask a supplier to come and put all their stapler inventory, it's going to be hard for you to do that. So you've got to find a way to incentivize your suppliers better.
Ну, возможно, да. Для поставщиков.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Thank you. Who wants to go next? You want to go next?
I have an hour view about our company.
Okay.
We will speak in the same company.
Будем о той же компании говорить.
Where you
Я могу переводить ему на английский, а вы можете по-русски презентовать. Как
where
хотите.
you могу по-английски.
Как хотите.
Customer experience. We have wide assortments, wide range. We have fast delivery and cheap price. Sometimes price where customers can take products in one place. Very simple and fast researching on our website.
So is this also VSE Instrumenti?
Yes.
Okay, what's different from what she said? What is your difference? Like, what is the value proposition that's different, or business model that's different?
Professional specialization. We can take where professional information. We can take service. We can take rent for customers, and we have additional service.
Okay.
For B2B customers.
Okay, so it's more B2B focused rather than B2C. Is that the difference from what happens today?
We are now selling for B2C and B2B customer, but our company have a big share for B2B customers.
Okay, so what's different about the platform, I guess? Why would this be better?
Difference between a company which sells in Russian markets.
Okay.
Да, не совсем понял вопрос. Какое отличие нас от другого рынка?
How would this idea be different than what they're already doing today? So they already do B2C and B2B. What's different?
С тем, что уже сегодня происходит, да? Вы уже работаете и B2B, и B2C.
Yes.
В чем ваша идея, чем она отличается от сегодняшней ситуации? How do you times 10?
Okay. For my opinion, the Russian markets are not structure, not consolidation for customers, and we will first. Мы будем первыми.
We will go first. We will be the ones who consolidate the market. To take the most.
We don't have a big company, and no one company don't have
Right.
a big share.
Got it. Why you, though? What makes you so special? What makes this company so special? Why would this company want to consolidate?
Now we have the biggest assortments for with customers. And
So if you already have biggest assortment, can you get 10x, or is it a small improvement? Like, what's fundamentally different about it? You can get 20x. Okay, great. Why you? Why not? If I showed up in Russia tomorrow, that would be a bad idea. But if I showed up and I started a VSC Instrumenti competitor, why could I not do the same thing? What's special about you? Okay.
And
Do your competitors also do that? No. Okay.
if you are professional, for example, you are going to repair this space,
Right.
you need to get tools, fasteners, and other stuff as
Correct.
much quick as possible. You have two choices: to go to Home Depot
Right.
and to get delivery ready product,
Or you come to you guys.
or to use our application
Right.
to get it in 4 hours.
Okay. So you have more products. So that's one of the things. Do you need more suppliers for more products? Why would those suppliers come to you versus Home Depot? What's the difference?
First of all, we replace full range of product, full selection, because Home Depot,
Yeah, but the supplier doesn't care, right? The supplier's selling one product. They're selling staplers.
one product,
So when you
they cares, because if you work with Home Depot,
yeah,
you have a limited space. So,
right.
principles as Amazon has.
Okay. Okay. So
And we have a slightly different client space.
right. So you're doing all of these things today. So if you hadn't come to this session, you would have done all of these things, right? What's
Created some new stuff. Yeah, we have created
okay? Good. What's the new stuff? What can you do differently from what you're already doing?
two things.
Okay.
We haven't made it two.
I'm sorry. We're kind of hijacking your.
The first is some credit
Okay.
to pay installment.
Love it. That's great. Yep.
The second is to connect suppliers and customers and let them chat with each other
Great.
to provide customers
Great.
with professional support.
Great.
And third one, we had
All good things come in three.
we provide logistics and tracking for full after-sale service.
Okay.
Repair product, rent, and other things.
Yep.
For example, we can, in our systems, we collect all of repair centers, official repair centers, and we take care of all after-sale service for our customers.
Great.
If the tools is broken, we take care of it. You don't
So
need to go anywhere.
that's awesome. So the key thing here is I love the fact that you're focused on all the three ideas are focused on customer. Right? That customer journey has to be perfect because in any kind of two-sided marketplace, what I was trying to push you on is how do you get more suppliers to sign up? You'll get more suppliers for all of these reasons, but you'll ultimately get all the suppliers when you have all the customers. So if you can make your customer experience awesome, they will keep coming to you. Right? I'm pretty sure when I go to Amazon, I pay more money for some products, but I don't care because the service is amazing. That's what you're trying to recreate. Amazing service. So that's great. Do you guys want to go next really quick? Yes. Are you doing VSE Instrumenti or something else? Something else, okay. Yeah.
Okay, can we go back to the previous slide?
Oh yeah. Just hit back.
Я больше работал над
Anyway, I was
платформой, которая по сути является
working more on a platform that would be
генподрядчиком.
essentially
Она,
like
в
the
свою
general
очередь,
contractor,
включает из
essentially,
клиента,
right? So,
но в
right,
качестве
it would
поставщика
involve
она
the
включает
customer, but also
исполнителя работ,
as
она включает
supplier,
поставщика
it
инструмента
will
расходных
be,
материалов,
have the
сюда же
supplier
она
for the
включает
materials, as
поставщика
well as
финансиста, то есть банковскую
like
систему. По сути, из трех
banking, financial
и сама по себе, ну и
supplier,
уже сама по
and
себе платформа.
actually
Суть
the
какая?
person,
Суть в том,
provider,
что
the person who is actually
клиент
providing the service,
может
right? And
сказать
so
просто, я хочу
essentially
такой
the
вид
client
работы.
says, I need
Платформа
this
под
done.
этого клиента
So the platform
решит финансовый вопрос,
will create a solution
каким
for the
способом
client,
он оплатит эти
specific,
работы.
right? How it's gonna
Найдет
finance it.
подрядчика, кто
The
может их
platform will
сделать.
find a
Либо если фронт
subcontractor
работ
to
сложный, он
do the
найдет несколько
service.
подрядчиков,
If there
которые
are
скоммуницируют,
several
и как она сделает. И, соответственно, эта же
several
платформа
things to do,
найдет
then
вариант
it will
поставки
find several suppliers, several
расходных
providers,
материалов,
and then it will
либо,
find a supplier
ну, а
for
также
the materials that are
тех же
needed to
перфораторов
do the
или
server. For
инструментов,
example,
которые
if
можно
you look
будет
at the
разработать
staplers,
для продажи,
you'll
либо
find
она
a
подберет вариант для
staple
аренды этого
supplier,
инструмента.
Okay.
right? And it'll find like
Соответственно,
a
ну,
location to rent
про
an
банк я сказал,
instrument,
про
for
космическое
example,
сказал.
right? So
Почему это платформа? Да? То
why
есть,
would this be a platform?
чем больше у нас заказчиков на этой
The
платформе,
more
тем,
customers
соответственно,
we have
больше
on the
идет
platform,
отзывов о
the
качестве
more reviews
выполненных
we get
работ,
about the
отзывов о
quality
качестве
of work
материалов,
done,
больше
right? About the
конкуренции
quality
среди
of
них,
materials, more
соответственно, ниже
competition,
ценовое
which
предложение.
should go
Да, и, соответственно, снижается необходимость специализации, да, то
price.
есть
Okay.
So
если вы одна организация, да, то
so
есть если
you
вы
don't
один
need to
поставщик
specialize,
услуг,
right? Right. For
который
example,
специализируется в полном цикле
you
строительства,
specialize.
от фундамента
For
до
example,
крыши,
if we're talking
вам
about
нужно быть
construction, right?
суперспециализированным.
Building
Если вы
construction.
умеете только
You,
заливать
if you
фундамент,
can do all of it,
только
it's great.
клеить крыши,
However,
только
if you're
клеить
only
обои,
doing
вас
roofs,
покроете
or
полностью
if
Okay.
you're only doing
Соответственно,
walls or
банк
whatever,
полностью
this
профинансирует
platform
услуги,
brings all of
раз
aspects together
расклад
into
по
one solution, including the financing.
Okay. All right.
So,
Makes sense. Thank you. It was awesome.
спасибо,
It
очень
was good stuff.
спасибо.
Yeah. I think you can use a lot of these ideas. Do you want to go last really quickly? I know you were like 15 minutes over time,
Я знаю, что мы уже забегаем очень сильно вперед.
but this one's totally different from what you guys do, so I thought it would be cool.
Совсем не так, как сейчас делается.
Наш стартап называется
So our startup, we really thought long and hard about the name Global Innovation Professional Portal. So,
наша платформа, она
the platform is going to bring together the labor market, like people who are looking for a job, with companies that are looking for people, right? And so we are the platform that brings these two together, companies and people.
Okay.
What are the advantages? How do people currently look for jobs right now? Right? You put your resume together, you send it out to 100 companies, then you have the grueling interview process, and then you, for example, get hired, but actually this company doesn't fit you and you don't fit the company, right?
Okay.
So you work there a little bit and then you leave and then you have to do the whole thing again.
Right.
So our platform, it's very different, right? In the platform, you enter all of everything that you've done in your professional life, right? You describe your skills, you enter your salary information, etc., right? So the platform has all of the information about everything. And then
So
the
what's the benefit for the user to enter that information into your system? Why would I do that?
пользователя, в чем преимущество ввода всей
I don't
этой
have a job
информации?
today. I don't know if you're going to get me a job, but you're asking me for a lot. Why would I do that?
Я предоставляю очень много информации вам. В чем преимущество? You get a job essentially in several days. You don't need to spend this much time on interviewing, on putting a resume together, because the system suggests like 3 companies where you will be a maximum fit in terms of the salary, in terms of your value to the company, right? That's
Great.
number one.
And then how do you get the companies to sign up to give them your jobs?
Как привлекать компании, чтобы они у вас рекламировали рабочие места на вашей платформе? So, every company has its own HR, right? Department, and you have to spend money on the HR department. And
But what's their benefit to put it on your platform?
А в чем преимущество для них? Зачем им на ваш... Well, because they get fitting candidates that they need for their needs. And the platform reduces the risks, because if one candidate doesn't fit, there are many others, right? And so also for companies that are doing short-term projects, like gigs, you do the gig, well, you do the project and then you can move on. You don't need to hire. But the platform, it's also interactive. You can enter your case studies. Now, in addition to your resume, you can enter like case studies and things that you've done, right? So you kind of do tests there. You can also upload recommendations, so your potential employers, they get all the full picture, right? And it also can be used as a professional development tool, right? You don't need to develop like a corporate university, right? And even if you're not looking for a job, you can still spend time on the platform, because you can take courses there, you can look at other people's experiences, you can buy webinars through the platform. You can actually offer webinars and earn money that way, or share your own knowledge, right? So,
Yeah, and
sell your personal
just
data or
yeah,
others'
yeah.
personal data.
Let's not do that. It sounds like LinkedIn and Linda, right? LinkedIn and Linda do the same thing. I think for all of these examples, I think one of the things that you guys have to think about is how do you get users without the jobs, and how do you get the jobs without the users, right? So you told me the reason people will come up is because they can find the jobs, but then you told the jobs guys that the users are coming. You've got to pick one to start. You've got to have some kind of initial draw. So you either go and you tell companies that I will guarantee you to send you 10 candidates in 30 days. That's a guarantee. People are like, okay, great, I'll give you my jobs. Or you tell candidates, I will guarantee you a job in 30 days. Right? So you've got to find a way to incentivize either side of the funnel. So when you're sequencing, you've got to get the flywheel going. Right? The same thing, I think what they tried to do was they said, in order to get the flywheel going, we'll give credit to customers. I like that, right? Because you're saying, here's free money to finance your purchase. Okay, I can do that. I can't do that anywhere else. Right? So I think you need to find a way to incentivize one side of the flywheel.
У нас мы сосредоточимся на привлечении именно
Concentrated on bringing in clients, right? You customers, right? People looking for a job first off to create the platform, and then from there to bring in the companies, right? Suppliers. So we will guarantee to future employees that they will find a job within 10 days, for example. And that way we lower risks, right? If somebody finds a job but is laid off within 6 months, we, for example, reimburse, will pay them to,
Great.
2 weeks.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Awesome. All right, well, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. We're super, super late. We're 1:15. But enjoy the rest of your trip. Be safe. I'll see you guys later. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Vijay.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Yes, you too.